Are you guys ready? It is an eclipse week. So we are in the middle of eclipse season, in the middle of the month of March of 2025, which astrologically has so much going on. And we're already feeling it. I know you're feeling it. I definitely am. The energy has felt pretty unstable. There's a lot that seems to be coming into the field that is bringing up a lot of fear. I'll say that first and foremost. There's a lot of fear in the collective right now. And you might also be feeling that fear on a really personal level. I don't think I've talked to anybody that doesn't have something pretty big bubbling under the surface, whether it's a situation that they're trying to remedy, a decision they're trying to make, they're dealing with a crisis. There's so much going on. So, of course, we're looking at a ton of Virgo Pisces energy. And I released a teaching on the nodes in Virgo and Pisces. If you haven't listened to that, it is full of really good information for how to navigate. And then I also released the Virgo Pisces episode of the week, where we're talking about how to work with this energy. And both of those episodes are different, they have different pieces of information in them. Definitely check that out under Astrology for Awakening on YouTube. And then, of course, on Star Narratives, the podcast. By the way, I'm Natha Perkins of Electro Astrology. And for all of you podcast listeners out there, hi. I'm so grateful that you all are here. You guys really have been with me for so many years. I'm doing a structure change to the podcast starting this week. I will be doing what I've been doing for the YouTube audience since November. I'm going to be splitting up the forecast, the path forward, and the teaching, Awakening with Astrology. So the forecast will be released on Mondays. Astrology for Awakening will be released on Tuesdays. And then on YouTube only, I'm re-releasing season 5 teachings around the zodiac. By the way, I'm also starting this week with the asteroid Chiron. So I think that we all need some healing. We need some medicine. So this is perfect timing to be talking about Chiron. So make sure to look for that. And one last thing is I am doing my second season by season online workshop. This one will be Sunday, March 23rd. You can register in the link below on both the podcast and YouTube. And so many of you joined me. So I would love to see you guys back again. And then if you're new, come check it out. These workshops, I do them periodically. I am going to do 4 of them this year in 2025. Really, they're just my gift to you because the energy is so chaotic and so many of us are wandering around confused. And it's really hard not to get sucked into that pain body, that fear body that is so prevalent on the planet right now. But my goal with all of these astrology teachings is to help you remember that you have a connection to higher power and that you are here to evolve and to heal. And I want to give you some tools for grounding, for coming back to yourself, for remembering that you are incredibly powerful, that you don't need to get swirled off into the land of, oh my God, the sky is falling, the world is ending, what are we going to do? So I use astrology as the entry point into that. So you don't have to know astrology at all, or you can be a total astrology master. Everybody is going to get benefit from this. And if your higher self is telling you to register, go ahead and register. It's free, and I will send out a recording. So if you happen to be busy that day and you know you won't be able to join me live, no worries, you'll be able to listen. You can also register at electroastrology.com. So let's talk about the astrology of the week. I'm going to switch to the charts. So go ahead and just take a deep breath. Allow your breath to slowly relax your nervous system. When we have this much Pisces in the sky, and we're in the middle of a Pisces eclipse season, Pisces and Virgo, it's going to be hard to stay out of paranoia. Pisces is the sign that brings us into a state of self-undoing if we're not careful, because there's so much unknown. And yet at the same time, Pisces holds the energy of spirit. It is true nature. It is the always optimizing field of awareness. And it is available for us to tap into, but it's easier to tap into the fearful side of it. The side that says, what if something really bad happens? I want to be prepared. So, taking a deep breath is one of the easiest tools that you have to calm the system because your mind is going to try to take you up, up, up and away. We have a big Mercury week this week. Mercury is going to station retrograde, and we already have Venus retrograde. And when the personal planets go retrograde, oh, it's like we have extra work to do. We just got assigned a bunch of extra homework. And this is personal homework where we have situations and relationship dynamics that rear up that are our homework. It gives us the actual work that we're meant to be doing. But it starts off as situations that just feel really confusing. They're really frustrating, really uncertain. And so the breath is something that can be of huge help to you. Of March 10th through the 16th, I'm actually going to bring us straight to Tuesday, where we see that Mercury is going to meet with Venus in retrograde, both at 8 degrees of Aries. Mercury is slowed down. It's almost stopped because it is about to go retrograde, and Venus is moving very slowly back. So this is where the mind, the way that you think and process things, the desire that you have for connection meets with Venus, your values, your self-worth, your money. These planets are limping along. They're not getting very much air. They're not feeling a ton of confidence, and they're not at their strongest. Venus, especially in the sign of Aries, is not very happy there because Venus prefers to be in relationship, and Aries is a very solitary sign. So you've already been looking at themes around love, relationship, money. I guarantee it. All of us in at least one of those areas: love, relationship, money, self-confidence, self-worth. We're all limping along, feeling a bit wounded, feeling like there's a huge problem here and I don't know how to solve it. And I don't really know what to do. And I also feel like it's all on me. I'm the one that has to solve my problem. I'm the one that has to put in the effort. And if only I do something, surely there's some move I need to make. Maybe I need to break up with this person. Maybe I need to go get a second job. Maybe I'm just not worthy and I've never been worthy and life isn't meant to work out for me, right? Whatever your internal dialogue sounds like, I want to remind you that Aries is not necessarily about having to do it alone. When we're working with this Pisces energy, which we are in a big way, Pisces reminds us that we have to rest into spirit. We have to trust that we are supported and guided. Now, that can look like I have the support of my higher self and of God, who will give me the guidance, put me in front of the right people, show me the way when the time is right. But that also means I have the support of my friends, of my family, of my loved ones. This is a good week to practice processing with them. Just talk it out, bring it to the table. A lot of times when we're holding on to our issues and we don't want to talk about them because we don't want to look bad or we don't want to like speak something into existence. There's a lot of metaphysical teachings right now that they make sense on one hand, right? Like, of course, words are spells, speak carefully or manifest something into existence. That comes with a flavor of the inner critic, right? Like, you better watch out. You better not speak that into existence because then it's your fault. Then you screwed up. Your fear has caused it to happen. And I just don't vibe with that. It's like we have enough pressure on our own without inviting our inner critic to scold us for having fear. But what we do want to remember with this South Node in Virgo and the fact that we're about to have a full moon, which is also an eclipse in the sign of Virgo, we have to be really careful about scolding ourselves. All of these things, and I talk to so many of you. I do chart readings, sometimes several a day. And I also have friends and family. And I also have my own life what I notice right now is it's really easy to go into the self-deprecating, you screwed this up, you did this, it's your fault, you should have XYZ. And the truth is that every example that comes along coupled with you did a bad job, you should have known, from an outsider perspective, seems so ridiculous. Like, how would you have known that? You didn't mess that up. You were just living your life and this thing happened. But also, we want to be empowered about it. We want to say, this thing happened. It sucked. This person was not good to me. This company screwed me over. I didn't see this coming. And what am I going to do with it? How am I going to use it as a tool for growth? Talk about this in my Chiron teaching. We are wounded because the wound is what helps us to heal, right? When we get a wound, it grows a scar, and that skin actually becomes thicker. So these experiences that feel so daunting and so awful and icky, they are contributing to us having a thicker skin. And our job is to stay really present with what's happening. And we're not to go into, you mess this up, you're bad, which I think is where most of us go. And that really contributes to all of this anxiety, all of these heavier energies that kind of feed on the fear, the anxiety, the outrage. Like, those energies are delighted that everyone on the planet is freaking out. But if you, as a light worker, you as somebody listening to this teaching, if you're trying to do your part for the collective, part of what you're working with is not allowing that fear and that criticism to overtake you as if it is yours, as if it is you. So we're looking at how do we work with the tools. So with this Mercury conjunct Venus, one of the ways is we got to talk about it. We have to process this with our friends, our loved ones, our therapists. Putting it out on the table makes it way less scary, because then you have somebody else's viewpoint that they can troubleshoot with you. And by the way, don't go to your most pessimistic friend. Don't go to your friend that is also on the doom and gloom train, because that's not going to be helpful for you. Your friends and loved ones who are full of fear themselves and don't really want to get out of it. Fear is a very interesting thing, right? Because sometimes it can prop us up in a weird way. Being a victim, or feeling victimized, I should say, can get us some supplies in the form of pity or compassion or empathy that can feel really good. But the thing is like, it's a little disempowering, right? Like, I'm getting my compassion and empathy from you because I'm identifying as being a victim of having all these problems that I can't solve. So we're kind of looking at, how do we take our power back? How do we take all of this fear and anxiety that we might be feeling and move through it? Really allow it to be there, feel it for as long as we can tolerate, and then move through it. Making our skin a little thicker in the process, making us less fearful of the unknowns in the process, because the other side of fear of the unknown is trust in the divine. I've got this. I'm supported. The answer is going to show up. It might show up at the last minute, but it will show up. And, I've had some experiences over the past year that have been so incredibly challenging and so out of my wheelhouse for things that I know how to deal with. And I'm telling you, the right person, the right answer, the right solution always showed up in perfect timing. Didn't really show up as fast as I would have liked. That is true. But there's always an angel. There's always some angel in the form of a person or angel in the form of an answer that will show up. So we're really having to work with that this week and this month as we're moving through eclipses. On the 12th, because of course we're doing this in the middle of eclipses, the Sun and Saturn meet. Sun, the core of who you are. You're King of Kings, you're Queen of Queens. This is the part of you that sits on their throne, that is the queen or king of your emotions, of your energy and actions, of your thoughts, and of your money. Now, we're not always feeling like the king or queen, or rather, we're not always feeling like the competent king or queen, but there is that part of us that is always seeking to be the one that sits on the throne, master of these elements. And as Saturn, the advisor, the strong, powerful advisor who does not mess around, comes to meet with the king or queen in the sign of Pisces, again, this is another indication that we have to get out of fear, paranoia, disillusionment, and worst case scenario. I mean, how many people do you know right now that are so addicted to their fear and so certain that everything is going toward the worst case scenario, the worst outcome? I don't know why that is. But like I said earlier, there's something that's very seductive about hand wringing, expecting something bad to happen, and then meeting with your other friends who think something bad is going to happen, and then everybody can moan and groan together. Or getting the compassion and empathy of people that are trying to make you feel better. The world's not going to end, it's going to be okay. So, this is a real moment where you get to test yourself. How strong am I? Am I good enough at controlling my mind so that I don't let my mind take me into fear and paranoia? It's hard, but it can be done. And when it's done, wow, what freedom. And also, can I become the master of my own emotions in a way that when I am having a big emotional response, I don't have to melt down? I can have my response, I can process it with myself or with a good friend, and I can move on. Imagine Saturn as the principal of the school. He or she is not running around screaming, freaking out. He or she is solid, strong, and says, look, we have a problem, but we're going to have order while we discuss this problem. Nobody's going to melt down. Everything is going to be okay, but we need to talk it through until we land on a conclusion. That's what Saturn is doing with our sun this week. You're going to hear other astrologers talk about how hard it's going to be. Oh, this energy is so heavy. Oh, this energy is so difficult. Oh, scary eclipses. But you're going to have to ignore that because this is about you tuning into your own higher guidance. We're past this time where we always listen to everybody else and take their word as the gospel. So you're tuning into your guidance. What does your positive connection to trust, to surrender to your higher power feel like? And how does it guide you? And you know that you're in a more of a negative connection when your guidance feels fraught with fear and anxiety and, oh my God, world's ending. On March 14th, Friday, we have our full moon lunar eclipse. It's going to be happening at 23 degrees of Virgo and Pisces, obviously in a tight conjunction to the nodes. We also have Saturn right here at 22. We have Mars at 18 Cancer, and we have Vesta at 18 Scorpio, making a grand water trine. I talked about grand water trines last week and how we needed to be mindful of our emotions running the show, how emotions are incredibly useful. They are what can make things flow. When we are able to tune into our emotions, it keeps the story going. We don't get dammed up. If you are somebody that has a hard time expressing or feeling your emotions, you know what it feels like to be dammed up with emotion. And then if you're somebody that can cry, you know the cathartic feeling of having a good cry. So this is a week where allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to feel the emotions, but you must process them through. You don't want to stuff them down. And you also want to be aware of strong emotional reactions where you are putting your strong emotions on somebody else. That could look like blaming other people or getting really mad at other people, having explosions. That could also look like being moody, being passive aggressive. We just got to watch that stuff because this is a time of such autonomy and personal power that, of course, we're seeking out friends to process with, but we aren't seeking people out to trauma dump on. And there's a distinction there. Because it's an eclipse, and eclipses can feel very unstable. They can bring in some really big new things that weren't on our radar before. It can also close some doors. A lot of times, eclipses will bring in things that create the change for us. They make the decision for us. If you are stalled out trying to figure out what to do, trying to make something happen, especially if that's accompanied with a lot of strong emotions of like, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to do. The guidance is to pause and you just allow the eclipse to kind of work its magic and do its thing. And remember, we're not looking so much at our self-reliance, which is what we try to do in Virgo. We try to problem solve. And if I figure out the right thing to do and the right thing to say and the right place to go, then I will be safe and sound. And this is so much more about allowing the universe to work in your favor, even if initially it doesn't feel like it's working in our favor. It is. And I err on the side of optimism. I have to, and I wish more people would. The pessimism out there is rough. It's really hard to hear so much negativity and so much doom and gloom. And the truth is that if the heavier energies want more heavy energy, then they have to incite feelings of doom and gloom. And we get to choose whether we're going to participate in that. Just on the other side of doom and gloom is faith and trust and optimism. You get to decide, and we're not talking about just blindly putting a big old ice cream smile on your face and dancing off into the rainbows with a unicorn. It's not that kind of optimism. It's the reminder that you have exactly what it takes to get through any situation that is handed to you. And sometimes it's going to suck and it's not going to be fun and it's going to be really challenging. And that there are always silver linings and that sometimes it just feels a little bit better to focus on the silver lining instead of going down the deep, dark rabbit hole of this is the worst case scenario and nothing is ever going to make it better. I also want to point out that the sun makes a sextile to Uranus on this same day. And that brings in, again, it's that swift and sudden change. So Uranus energy with eclipse energy can feel like, wow, a little mind blowing, but we got this. Then in the early morning hours of March 15th on Saturday, Mercury stations to go retrograde. So this is the opportunity to start going through all of the places where maybe you've cut off connection, you felt that you had to do it alone, that you had to rely primarily on your mind to problem solve and create solutions, and that the busier you were, the better everything was going to turn out. Those are South Node Virgo lessons as well, but Mercury is the dispositor, the ruler of the South Node. Well, I wish all of us luck and smoothness as we navigate the next week. And again, don't forget, you are supported, you are guided. And when you create the space for yourself to tune into that guidance, the answers will come. All right, talk to you all soon.